Lisa, what do you think? What's the best way of making sure that the funding streams are made as simple and accessible as possible?
I think similar to Sarah's comments is thinking about the end user, and in this debate we're talking about local community clubs run by volunteers who are very busy, having challenges post-COVID in terms of reduction in the number of volunteers at a local level. We know a third dropped out and there's 2 million less volunteers in relation to the sector over the last 6 years, and notwithstanding it costs them to contribute towards their local community clubs in all your constituencies. But I think in terms of the funding landscape, it's really easy when you're in it to understand it. It is very difficult when you're out of it to understand it. So within the funding that's available, you will know there's exchequer and lottery funding to the tune of £250 million a year. Local authorities contribute about £1 billion. The governing bodies in relation to the voluntary code of conduct in relation to broadcast contribute 198 million back into their own sports. And likewise, you may be aware of the Community Amateur Sports Club scheme that started in 2002, which is about supporting local grassroots clubs who are serving their community but reducing burdens on them. Now that contributes around 40 million a year to grassroots clubs. That's about £5,000 per local community club. So I think to answer your question, it's getting back to the end user. How do we utilise a language that they understand in their community? Sport England have recently consolidated all their awards into a movement fund, but the word movement may not speak to a local basketball club and a netball club or a table tennis club or sported. And it's how do we find a way to be able to communicate in a way that is not threatening nor divisive in relation to those community groups. So as Sarah said, whether that's video applications or one scheme that's worked incredibly well with a private company is where, and it's slightly different because it's not government funding, a private company will go visit local community clubs. And if they see the whites of the eyes of that community club, then they will look to fund it because they believe in the volunteers, that they're there to do the right thing, which the majority of volunteers are definitely there to do. And there aren't as many risks and regulations on obviously private funding compared to government funding. But that system has worked incredibly well with a close relationship with a private organisation and local community sports, and that's around Leicestershire, Manchester and Cornwall. So I agree, the funding landscape is complicated, and we need a clearer system of communication right down to the 100,000 plus grassroots sports clubs in all our communities.